Now, you know what I did here? You could write 1. It's okay if you write 1. No one is going to penalize you for that. But you get to a stage in your knowledge of mathematics that you don't write 1 as a coefficient of any letter. So now we bring this down. Remember that we replace this middle term with this 2 that we have obtained. So it leaves us with a squared plus 2a minus 2 equals 0. Good. So we bring that up to make the work easy for us. Remember we have down there a squared plus 2a minus 2 equals 0. What is common to both of them is a. A is common to both. So if you bring out a, more like saying you factorize a, you're left with a plus 2. Look at this. Now, literally, there is nothing that is common to both of them. So when you don't have anything you can see that is common, then 1 is common to every number. 1 is a factor of all numbers in this life. And that's why, remember I said this method is called factorization method. So minus 1, we have a plus 2 equals 0. Remember that if you open the bracket, you go back here. A times a is a squared plus a times 2 is 2a, minus 1 times a is minus a, minus 1, minus times minus, plus is minus, and all that. So we have the same thing here. We just pick one of these, and what we have outside, go into the bracket, and then we have equals to 0. So a minus 1 equals to 0, or a plus 2 equals to 0. So here, a is 1, or a is minus 2. A is 1 or A is minus 2. You can find that the correct answer is option A. A is 1, A is also minus 2. That is binary operation. Now this is simplify, make simple. Simplify to make simple, to simplify is to make simple. Now I want to teach you something there. There's something, if you look very closely, there is something there called difference of two squares. Now this is 324 minus 4x squared over 2x plus 18. Now look at this. Look very closely. Now what do we do here? First of all, we can decide to factor. If you factorize, we're going to have 4. Okay, if we take 4 out, this would give us 81 minus x squared. Look at that. Over, what is coming here? 2 into x plus 9. You see this? 81 minus x squared. We have also factorized the denominator. 2 is common to both. Now, look at this. The question is simplify. So when you're given a question simplify, you try to look for ways to make this thing very simple. That's just what it means to simplify. So here we go. Now, if you want to do it, difference of two squares, a squared minus b squared is simply the product of a plus b and a minus b. Look at that. A squared minus b squared is a. Let me explain this. Now let's pick square numbers. Let's say we have 25 minus 9. 25 minus 9 is 16. Everybody knows that, right? That's your simple mathematics. Now 25 is a square number. That's 5 squared. 9 is a square number. 3 squared. Now let's express it like this. I said 5 plus 3 times 5 minus 3. Remember what we got here? 16. 5 plus 3 is what? 8. 5 minus 3 is 2. 8 times 2 is 16. So you see, that's the difference of 2 squared. So we can apply the knowledge that we have here to solve this question. So now, what are these two squares here? The squares here, 81 is the square number, 9 squared, right? Minus x squared. Can you see the two squares now? The two squares. These are the two squares. Over 2 into x plus 9. Okay, we don't need to keep this. 2 can go into 4 2 times. This is 1. So here we have the squares. And what I talked to you about difference of two squares, it means we have 2. Tell me, 9 plus x, and then 9 minus x over x plus 9. Now remember, x plus 9 and 9 plus x are the same thing. So this will cancel this. And we have 2 into 9 minus x. Let's see if we have the answer. 2 into 9 minus x. Okay. Here we have 2 into 9 plus x. 2 into 9 minus x. Now, I'm going to show you something. If you look at that, you don't have, it looks like we do not have an answer, but we actually do have an answer. Now, I'll teach you something. Now, if I'm changing the places of these two, okay, I'm going to have a minus sign. Let me teach you that separately. Now, 9 minus x is the same thing as minus x minus 9. Let me explain that. If you open the bracket, there is no sign here. Let's say it's a positive sign. Minus, let's just put 1. Minus 1 times x is minus x. Minus 1 times minus 9 is plus 9. So if I change the place, it's 9 minus x. Can you see? 9 minus x is the same thing as minus x minus 9. So we can do that here. So this is the same thing as minus 2 into x minus 9. Do we have that answer there? Yes, we do. That's option D. Minus 2 into x minus 9. Please take it. So don't stop at this point and say, oh, JAMB made a mistake. There is no answer there. There is actually an answer, and the answer is option D. Now, this is geometric progression. 3 consecutive terms of a geometric progression are giving us, when we say consecutive, what it means is that they follow each other. So 3 terms. The second follows the first, and the third follows the second, and so on. So n minus 2, n, and n plus 3. The question is find the common ratio. Now I'm going to remind you all of the things I'm teaching you. I doubt if there is anything that is new to you. You must have been taught in year 10 or in year 11. That's SS1 or SS2. Just a reminder. Now that is a geometric progression topic. What you call, or what is usually called GP. Now GP is one of the topics under what we call sequence and series. If you check the syllabus that I have on my slides, there is sequence and series there. So GP is one of those. Now I'm just going to go straight to teach you that. Now to find the nth term of a GP. Now look at this. Now these are the terms of GP. The first term is denoted with A, the second term is AR, the third term is AR raised to power n, and then, AR raised to power 1, 2, and then AR raised to power 3, and so on. Okay? Now that leaves me with, if I want to find the nth term, is AR, can you see this? Raised to power n minus 1. Now let me quickly explain that. If I'm looking for the first term, n there stands for the number of term. Which term are you looking for? So if I'm looking for the first term, Tn will be AR raised to power 1, because n is going to be 1. So T1 will be AR raised to power 1 minus 1, which is AR raised to power 1 minus 1 is 0. 0. And one of the laws of indices which I didn't quote is that anything raised to the power of 0 is 1. So this will give me A times 1. And what is A times 1? A. Can you see? My first term is A. You can do the same for the second term, the third term, and the fourth term. So one way to know how to do that is just very simple. Now if you want to find the 8th term, it's simply AR raised to power 7. Why? Because of this law, AR raised to power 1 less than the number of terms. So this is the 8th term. So you can guess what the 99th term will be. AR raised to power what? 98. Are we okay with that? So that's fine. So let's see how to solve the question. So we've been given 3 terms of the GP. The first term is n minus 2. Second term is n. And the third term is n plus 3. Now there is the word common ratio. Let's go back. Let's go back one step back. When I gave you the terms, I said we have AR raised to power 2, AR raised to power 3, and so on. AR raised by n minus 1. Now, if we divide the second term by the first term, we're going to get a common ratio. Now look at this. What's the second term? AR. What's the first term? A. A would cancel A, leaving us with R. This R is called the common ratio. What did I say? The common ratio. Now, interestingly, if you divide a term by its previous term, you will keep getting the same result, and that's why it's called common. The ratio is common. Look at this. The second term, this is the third term. Third term divided by the second term. T3 over T2. What do we have? AR raised by 2 divided by AR. A would cancel A. Remember our indices. R raised to power 2 divided by R raised by 1. Indices says R raised by 2 minus 1, which R raised by 1. Can you see? The answer is still R. That's why it's called common ratio. If you divide a term by its previous term, you will keep getting the same result. So that ratio is called the common ratio. So now the question says that we should find the common ratio. So n over n minus 2 will give us the same result when we do n plus 3 over n. Take note. N over n minus 2, second term over first term, will give us the same result as the third term over the second term. That's why the ratio is common. Now here we can cross multiply. If we cross multiply, we have n squared, n times n. Alright, let's just leave that. N times n equals to n minus 2, n plus 3. So let's go. N times n is n squared equals to, remember what I said, take your time. Take turns. N times n is n squared. N times 3 is 3n. Minus 2 times n is minus 2n. Minus 2 times 3 is minus 6. We're okay with this. So now we can bring all terms. Collect all the terms. Or bring all terms. Or rather collect like terms if you like to say that. Now before then, we can simplify this. We have n squared. 3n minus 2n is simply 1n, which is n minus 6. So when we collect like terms, we're going to have n squared minus n squared minus n equals minus 6. We've got all the n's to this side. So n squared minus n squared, they'll cancel out, leaving us with minus n equals to minus 6. And if we divide both sides by minus 1, of course, the minus signs will cancel out. So we find out that n equals to 6. Please note that this is not the common ratio. This is just the value of n. Now to find the common ratio, go back here, pick any of these two ratios. You get the answer. Now I'm going to put the value of 6 into both of them to prove to you that it is the common ratio. Now let's take this one for instance. This is n, and what is our n? 6 over 6 minus 2. Now 6 minus 2 is 4, right? If you divide both sides by 2, you have 3 over 2. So this is my common ratio. Now I'm going to try the same thing here. N plus 3 over n. Now remember our n is what? 6. So 6 plus 3 over 6. See this? So that is 9 over 6. 3 is the common denominator, common factor for both. 3 into 9 is 3. 3 into 6 is 2. Can you see? In both cases, we have 3 over 2. That shows you that the ratio is common. So the answer is 3 over 2, which is option A. So that is how it is solved. This is geometric progression. Sometime later we're going to do arithmetic progression as we make progress. Now this is another question. We've done this. Now this is variation. Now we have different types. We have the direct, we have the inverse, we have the joint variation, and we have partial variation. So this is inverse variation. We want to solve this question. The question says if W, now I'm going to just give you a clue, or maybe I'd call that a reminder. For most of the things I'm teaching you under numbers and algebra, I'll call them reminders. When I start doing calculus, I'm sure that some of you may not have gone through or may not have learned what I've been teaching you in calculus. But for numbers and algebra, most of the things you already know them. Now this is this. We have variation. Now for variation, I said we have direct, we have inverse, we have partial, we have joint variation. Okay? Now, it just simply tells you how things are related. Now, when something is directly, when the variation is direct, when we say something varies directly as another thing, what it means is when one increases, the other one increases too. So when one increases, the other increases. That's what we mean by direct variation. So the same thing affects both of them. So but when it is inverse, as one increases, the other reduces or decreases, if you like to say that. So please take note of that. Now, so we have variation. Now, so this is direct variation. We are going to use x and y here. If x varies directly as y, okay, this is what it looks like. X, this is your variation sign, this side. X varies directly as y. If x, this is direct, take note of that. If x varies inversely as y, we have this. X varies inversely as y. Okay? Now, for partial variation, we're going to solve a question that has to do with partial variation. Like I said, I don't have all the time to teach you very well until we have questions. I'm going to use questions to teach you the topic. So let's solve this question. It says W varies, take note of that, inversely as, hey, look at that, inversely, take note, inverse, 1 over uv over u plus v. Hey, look at that. This is a fraction. But normally for fractions you should have only a numerator and a denominator. How come we have 3 steps? 1, 2, 3. Now what does it tell you? This is simply telling you that this is the reciprocal of the fraction. Are we okay? So W varies inversely as uv over u plus v. So I told you earlier when we dealt with fractions that the reciprocal of the fraction is obtained by changing the places of the numerator and the denominator. So the reciprocal of this will simply be, we can say this, u plus v over uv. Are we okay with that? I'm sure we're fine. Now the next step is to change this variation sign to equal sign. Whenever we do that, we introduce a constant. So we say w equals to k. We have u plus v over uv. So we're going to find what k is. Now they're giving us values here. Okay? They said w is 8 when u is 2 and v is 6. Find the relationship between them. So w is 8 when u is 2. So w 8, u 2, v 6. So we substitute these values. So u 2, v 6, 2 times 6. So this is 8 equals to k, 8 over 12. So if we do the math, we're going to have 8 equals to 8k over 12. We're going to find the value of k. If we cross multiply, I have 8k. Now, I have broken my rule, right? Remember my rule. I said it's the denominator that multiplies the numerator. But if you remember also, I said for equations, it can work. But for inequalities, it doesn't work. Please take note of that. Now, do you know why I did it like this? Because I always I advise students to put their unknown to the left hand side. That's why I did 8k times 1. Ideally, it should be 1 times 8k. So this equals to 8 times 12. So if I divide both sides by 8, 8 will cancel, 8 will cancel 8. My k becomes 12. I'll go back to this rule and substitute the value of k. If I do that, I'm going to have, let me use this part of the board. I'm going to have w equals to 12, k is 12, u plus v over uv. Now I can decide to cross multiply. If I cross multiply, I have u vw equals to 12 into u plus v. u vw equals 12 into u plus v. That is option C. Have you seen what we did? You can pause at this point and go over what we've done. Remember what I said. You master mathematics when you solve with your own hands.